What did your parents tell you as a child? What was a complete lie? Was in the British Army, and in the 50s spent some time in Jamaica, where he picked up the habit of flicking his hand so his 5 fingers slapped on his hand and made a sound, usually when he was excited. Come the late 90s, early Euros, Oli G is all the rage, and all the kids are doing it, and it's pretty annoying for anyone who has to be around it. My mum, at the end of her rope with it, told me that my granddad does it, and he ended up with a pacemaker. So if we carry on, I would need one too. My mum, I love you. Now that could be sarcastic. Except she literally told me on a daily basis. I love you as a son. I hate you as a person, non-ironically. Ing me as a son. She meant except we now both know she is a sociopath and actually incapable of actual love or empathy. And she no longer hates me as a person. But that took the best part of 40 years. I heard that from kinder until I was in my mid-30s and had a child of my own. Not so much as saying, as acting, the lie that they were happily married. Finding out as an adult in my 30s, it was devastating. My whole childhood was dismantled. But I was heartbroken for them. They stayed together. Dad died in 2014. Mum is thriving and much happier. But it's still sad for them both. But I think they did the right thing. I have no trauma from a divorce that could have clearly happened. But I still wish they were happier. To child's home in the entire world in one night. With the help of a team of domesticated caribou with magical abilities that I can only assume was the byproduct of some sick and depraved dark arts. My parents told me that a monster, a Ramioga approximate transcription, lived in the cellar and ate children. It was to prevent me from going down there, as the stairs were very dangerous, and since the stairs were full of huge spider webs, I believed for a long time that the monster was a giant spider. I believed in the Ramioga longer than in Santa Claus. And yes, I'm arachnophobic. Very specific. There's a big energy factory, don't know the exact translation, close to my city. There were 2 big towers which produce a lot of smoke, I think cooling towers or SNT. Parents always told us, when we drove past, that it was a cloud factory. When it was a sunny day with blue sky, they said must be closed today. When it was a cloudy day, they said factories working overtime. We went on a long walk once, and my mother wanted to take a boat back to the car. I was afraid of taking a boat. So she told me a steam train would be arriving. Not a boat, I thought. That sounds very unlikely. But my mother wanted to make things up. Will she? When the boat turned up at last, it was of course too late to argue, and her plan had worked out. I grew up Greek Orthodox, and my dad told me that one day, during our lifetime, the Antichrist would come to power, and as true Christians, we will be tortured to get us to deny Christ. If we deny Christ, then we will go to hell. And if we don't deny Christ, we will be tortured to death. But we will go to paradise. I was 6. My grandmother used to brew herbal tea and would tell me that it was Chinese Coca-Cola. Being a dumb and greedy kid, I would happily drink it thinking it was some special flavor of cola, and immediately regretting it because it was bitter. I only realized years later that it was in fact not Chinese Coca-Cola, that they understood how I felt. I went through this weird phase growing into adulthood where a lot stuff they said or did started to make sense, and I just assumed the parts that didn't would as I grew older. Then the bell curve dropped back down as I grew even older and realized some of it was just fucked up, haha. The one thing that comes to mind is this really silly lie my mother tried and failed to lie about. It was this stupid wives' tale that if you swallowed gum, it would be stuck in your body for 7 years, months, days. I can't remember, and it's 1:55 a.m. as I type this out. Good night, morning. Don't explore it unless you are committed to doing it for the rest of your life. Homeschool parents with minimal resources and living 30-minute drive from civilization. Biggest load of BS that I've had to work through. You got to try stuff to figure out what you like and or want. That they were doing things for me. No. You were controlling to manage your distress. You were constantly checking where I was to manage your distress. You were refusing to allow me to date to manage your distress. None of this was to keep me safe or to help me. That I didn't need to worrying if I didn't find my way in life, as when they passed there would be more than enough to get me a home and keep me going. They got sick, needed my help to the point it ended my career. Didn't leave enough to buy a shed and land for it. You have 6 hours to get to the hospital for treatment after getting hurt, or they can't stitch a cut or put a cast on. I have multiple badly healed broken bones and ugly scars due to this. They just didn't want the hospital to track how often I got hurt. That everyone else knew how to do house chores as a way to get me to do house chores. Well, that was a lie, because I see even adults have trouble folding laundry and washing dishes properly. Love your mum for making sure I wasn't utterly useless soxo. Pointing to stars at night would make warts grow in your finger. I have no idea where this gypsy type idea comes from, but I could tell it was bullshit from young age. Despite how annoyingly stubborn my mother would be with that story. They often told me the TV is broken. The first troubleshooting success of my life was finding out that they had unplugged it because it was bedtime. That is why I became an automation repair technician. Thanks, Mom, I suppose. My dad always stuck his finger in my belly button and then said, "I'm just taking the knot out that keeps you together." Scared the bejesus out of me till I was like 6 or 7, and can still remember him doing it clearly. I'm 45 now. In Turkish, some people call ID cards nüfus cüzdanı, which translates as wallet of identity. I told my mum I really wanted a wallet, and she said, "You already have one at home." The wallet at home was my nüfus cüzdanı. It's all in your head. We love you all the same. So much crap like that. Had people that we knew as a child come up to me as an adult and say that could see my parents loved my sisters more. Like, yeah, I know. Practically everything. If they did bother to try and let me in on something. I suppose in some rather roundabout way my dad taught me some life lessons, but also programmed me wrong too. Thanks, dysfunctional family. Not my parents, but my brother. He told me the black and white cows were for milk, and the brown ones would give you chocolate milk. I believed that until I was 9 or so, and I'm not even a city kid, lol. That if you pick up puppies, the mother will reject them. This is a myth, so I think my mother didn't know. And I also think she told us this so we wouldn't accidentally harm the puppies when we were kids. Cheaters never win and liars never prosper. I understand it was said to teach me right from wrong, but honestly all my life I've witnessed cheaters winning and liars prosper. It was the biggest lie. If I ate bread crust I'd get curly hair, which was odd, because I already had curly hair and was very vocal about my hate of it. Technically it wasn't a lie, but I still was made to eat the crust. When I would ask my dad where he would go, he used to say, "I went to see a man about a dog." Used to think he actually would see a man and his dog. I even asked if the dog was okay. LOL. Picking your nose makes your nostrils large. My dad regretted that one when 5-year-old me, having spotted a lady of African descent, said, Dad, she must pick her nose a lot. Nobody will love you as much as us. No one will treat you better than we do. I'm glad I doubted it as early as age 11. Also, being cold or not wearing a jacket will make you sick. That I wouldn't regret skateboarding so hard for so many years. Wait. No, she said I would regret that, and she was right. My knees are always hurting and my back sucks. My dad told us that we were secretly rich, and that he had a car trunk full of money. Nope. He sold cocaine and hid all the money in coffee tins buried in the backyard. If you make a fist and press on the bottom corner beneath your pinky, there's some little lumps that pop out. That is the number of kids you will have one day. That a new perfect world was coming and I didn't have to worry about growing old and dying. They were Jehovah's Witnesses and that's their core belief. I can't say it here. Or at least I don't want to repeat it whatever. But let's just say now I'm in therapy working on being a more inclusive person. That I was lazy and lacked discipline took me 20 years to figure out that I had severe anxiety. And that school overall wasn't really challenging. Couldn't go swimming unless we waited an hour after eating. I think it was to give them a break before we started trying to drown ourselves again. You need to get a car and a college degree to be successful. I have neither, and my bank accounts have more than both of my parents combined. That they'd keep any secret I tell them. And presently they're always saying I don't tell them anything anymore. I wonder why that is. We believed him because somehow he always knew when we would be in his room when he left. Turns out my stepfather just put a piece of, if I sat too close to the TV I'd go blind. While the joke's on them, I lost my sight due to a socially crippling masturbation addiction. That if I kept sneaking over to the neighbor's house and eating the cat food they left outside for their cat, I would turn into a cat. That all the lies I told will appear written on my forehead. So whenever I covered my forehead with my hand, they knew I was lying. Eat your food and you'll grow big and strong. No, I gained a bad relationship with food and got fat. I'm doing good now though. That walking around the house without shoes on is why I had chronic leg pain as a kid. Still don't get their logic on this one. That honesty and decency are always rewarded, and evil will definitely be punished. Alas, nothing is being done on its own. That if I told them the truth they would go easier on me. That wasps and bees wouldn't bother me if I didn't bother them. That watermelon seeds could grow in your tummy. I nearly got into trouble for telling another girl this when I was 7. My mum told me the dentist said I had soft teeth so I needed to brush more than other people. I found out this lie at 32.